Attica Correctional Facility stands in western New York as a maximum security prison with a reputation shaped by violence, confrontation, and state power. It operates today as a functioning institution, but its identity is permanently tied to events that redefine how America understands prisons, protest, and force. Attica is not remembered because it is modern or innovative. It is remembered because of what happens when pressure inside a closed system builds without relief. The prison opens in 1931 in the rural town of Attica, New York. It is designed to hold men convicted of serious crimes under strict control. Over decades, the population grows. Conditions harden. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, Attica reflects many of the failures common in American prisons at the time. Overcrowding increases. Racial divisions deepen. Discipline relies on isolation and punishment rather than rehabilitation. In 1971, Attica holds more than 2,200 inmates. The vast majority are Black or Latino. Almost all correctional officers are white. Inmates work for pennies per day. Medical care is limited. Access to education and programs is minimal. Complaints move slowly through bureaucracy. Grievances often go unanswered. This is the environment that exists when tensions finally erupt. If stories like this matter to you, consider subscribing, because what happens next reveals how this system truly works. On September 9, 1971, a confrontation between inmates and correctional officers escalates inside Attica. Details vary, but the result is clear. Inmates seize control of a large section of the prison known as the Yard. They take dozens of correctional officers and civilian employees hostage. For 4 days, the facility remains under inmate control. The uprising is not random. Inmates present a list of demands. They call for better living conditions, fair wages for prison labor, access to medical care, religious freedom, and an end to racial abuse. They also ask for political rights and outside observers. Some demands are unrealistic. Others are basic. Negotiations begin. Journalists, lawyers, and public figures are allowed into the prison. State officials listen but hesitate. The Yard becomes a temporary center of attention. Inmates speak publicly about life inside Attica. Their statements are recorded and broadcast. The nation watches. During the standoff, violence does not dominate the Yard. The hostages remain alive. Some are injured, but they are not executed. Tension remains high, but the situation does not collapse into chaos. The largest danger comes from the uncertainty of how the state will respond. On September 13, 1971, New York State orders a forced retaking of Attica. Governor Nelson Rockefeller authorizes state police, correctional officers, and National Guard personnel to enter the prison. Helicopters drop tear gas into the Yard. Armed troopers move in with rifles and shotguns. The assault lasts approximately 15 minutes. When it ends, 43 people are dead. 33 inmates die. 10 hostages die. Subsequent investigations determine that nearly all fatalities are caused by law enforcement gunfire. None of the hostages are killed by inmates during the takeover. This fact directly contradicts early official statements released to the public. The Yard is left soaked with blood. Bodies lie where they fall. Survivors are forced to crawl through mud and debris. Inmates are beaten, stripped, and threatened. Medical care is delayed. Some injuries worsen because of neglect in the hours after the assault. What happens at Attica shocks the country. Public confidence in prison administration erodes. Questions emerge about excessive force, racism, and accountability. Autopsies confirm the cause of death. The state cannot reverse the evidence. The narrative changes. Investigations follow. Civil lawsuits stretch on for decades. In 2000, New York State agrees to a settlement with surviving inmates and families of those killed. In 2004, the state settles claims brought by hostages and their families. No state official faces criminal conviction for the assault. Attica becomes a symbol, not of reform, but of what happens when reform fails. The prison continues operating. The walls remain. The population changes, but the structure stays the same. Attica does not close after 1971. Instead, it absorbs the event into its identity. In the years that follow, some reforms spread across American prisons. Conditions improve in certain areas. Oversight increases. Grievance procedures become more formal. But Attica's internal culture remains shaped by distrust. Violence continues inside the facility. Assaults on staff and inmates occur periodically. Lockdowns are common. Tension between officers and prisoners remains high. Disciplinary measures rely heavily on segregation. Attica's special housing units isolate inmates for extended periods. Some spend months or years confined to small cells for 23 hours a day. Mental health advocates criticize these practices. Lawsuits challenge them. Changes come slowly. The prison's reputation spreads beyond its walls. The name Attica enters American language as shorthand for state violence and prison rage. It appears in films, books, and music. Often, the reference strips away complexity. What remains is a warning. Inside the prison, daily life continues under strict routine. Counts occur multiple times per day. Movement is limited. Surveillance is constant. The architecture emphasizes control. Long corridors, barred tiers, and observation points define the space. Correctional officers work in an environment shaped by history. Training focuses on security. Memory of the uprising influences policy and behavior. The possibility of unrest remains a central concern. Order is enforced with authority. Inmates arrive from across New York State. Some know Attica's reputation before entering. Others learn quickly. The prison holds men serving long sentences, including life terms. Many expect to age and die within the system. Educational and vocational programs exist but are limited. Budget constraints affect staffing and services. Access varies by security level. Movement restrictions disrupt consistency. Rehabilitation is present in policy but constrained in practice. Medical care remains a recurring issue. Lawsuits allege delays and inadequate treatment. Oversight agencies investigate. Improvements occur, but complaints persist. Mental health services face particular strain. Racial disparities remain visible. Inmate demographics do not reflect staff demographics. This imbalance fuels mistrust. Training addresses bias, but institutional culture changes slowly. Attica experiences periodic disturbances after 1971. None reached the scale of the original uprising, but incidents reinforce the facility's image. Each lockdown revives memory. Each investigation recalls the past. The prison system evolves around Attica rather than replacing it. New facilities open elsewhere. Attica stays operational. Its age becomes part of the problem. Infrastructure deteriorates. Maintenance struggles to keep pace. Public attention fades, then returns. Anniversaries of the uprising prompt renewed discussion. Survivors speak. Historians revisit records. Families remember the dead. Each retelling confirms the same conclusion. The violence was avoidable. Attica demonstrates how control without accountability leads to collapse. In 1971, warnings exist. Grievances are documented. Officials choose delay over action. When the system finally responds, it does so with overwhelming force. The lesson is not limited to one prison. Attica exposes structural weaknesses across American corrections. Overcrowding. Racial division. Lack of oversight. Political fear of appearing weak. These factors converge. Modern prison policy often cites Attica as a turning point. Training programs reference it. Academics analyze it. Yet many of the underlying conditions persist nationwide. Attica remains open today under the supervision of the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. Security protocols are updated. Technology improves. Cameras replace blind spots. But the core mission stays unchanged. The prison continues to house some of the state's most closely monitored inmates. Staff continue to work under pressure. Incidents continue to occur. Each one is managed with the knowledge of what failure once cost. For inmates, Attica represents the end of the line. Transfer out is rare. Parole opportunities are limited. The environment reinforces permanence. Time moves slowly. Authority is constant. For officers, Attica represents risk. Training emphasizes readiness. The memory of 1971 shapes response strategies. Negotiation is studied. Control remains the priority. For the public, Attica remains a reference point. It is invoked whenever prison reform enters debate. It stands as evidence of systemic failure and state violence. It resists simplification. Attica is not defined by a single event, but the 1971 uprising overshadows everything that follows. No policy, renovation, or program fully escapes that shadow. The prison carries its history into every count, every lockdown, every confrontation. The story of Attica is not about chaos. It is about structure. It is about what happens when institutions ignore internal warnings and rely on force as a final answer. It is about decisions made by people with power and the consequences borne by those without it. Attica still stands. The walls remain solid. The lessons remain unresolved.